from New Year's Eve 1980 to August 7th, 1982. One of the most terrifying serial killers of modern history stalked the Twin Cities in Minnesota and nearby Wisconsin, killing at least 4 women. His name? Paul Michael Stefani, the weepy-voiced killer. Beware, it might give you nightmares. Every call started exactly the same. Don't talk, just listen.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen.
In the beginning of 1980, Paul Michael Stefani worked at a manufacturing company. But when he was fired, the darkness he was keeping at bay finally caught up to him. He returned to the factory late at night and attacked his first victim, Karen Potok. She actually survived an absolutely vicious assault. She was struck in the head with a tire iron repeatedly. But when she woke up, she had no memory of what had happened. So the case went cold. How was she found? Well, her attacker called 911. Listen to this.
Yes, please, this is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Molenberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please, there's an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there.
Can you tell me what happened to her?
Just hurry, she's laying on the ground in the back by the railroad tracks, by the edge here. Hurry.
What's the address?
I don't know.
Who are you?
A few months later, Kimberly Compton, who was an 18-year-old college student, brand new to Wisconsin, literally just off the bus, stopped at a diner to get a snack after her long ride, and she met her gruesome end. Stefani committed 2 more murders that he didn't call 911 for. In July of 1982, he viciously murdered Kathleen Greening in her own bathtub, found there drowned in her home in the suburbs of St. Paul. Her killing was so different that the police didn't realize she was a victim of the weepy-voiced killer. No stabs, no calls. Then, in August, Stefani met Barbara Simmons at a bar called the Hexagon. She offered him a cigarette. He offered her a ride. Before she left, she walked up to a waitress and said, "I hope this guy's okay." The waitress had a funny feeling, and she studied the guy. The next day, a newspaper carrier was walking alongside the Mississippi River, and he saw her leg. He called the police. When Barbara Simmons' body was found, this waitress was able to give a description to the police, and the coroner would find that she was stabbed more than 100 times. The killer's only reference to Barbara would be when he said, "I'm sorry I killed that girl." Stefani's chilling 911 call would haunt anyone who heard it.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one. Oh, my chief. Oh, I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
I'm just going to... If somebody dies with a red shirt on, it's me. I killed both people. I'm sorry. I'll never make it to heaven. Oh, you find me, I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody.
"God damn, will you find me?" he said. "I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody." While Simmons wouldn't be Stefani's last victim, she would be his last murder. Because after that, he attacked the wrong girl. Once the police had identified Stefani, they put a tail on him. They figured, we don't have much evidence, but we're going to watch him nobody else is going to die. But somehow this guy actually ditched his tail. He went driving and picked up a night worker who was 19 years old named Denise Williams. After being intimate with Stefani, Denise realized that they were driving in the wrong direction. Not only were they going away from downtown, but they were going into a kind of quiet, dark area, and her danger sense went off. She started looking around the car for anything that she could use as a weapon, and she spotted, rolling around at her feet, a glass bottle. She didn't grab it, but she just noted, I might need that. Then the car stopped. He turned off the engine. He turned off the lights. He grabbed a screwdriver and he stabbed Denise in the stomach. But she didn't go down easy. She remembered that glass bottle. She went for it, broke it over his head, cut open his cheek and his chest, and she broke his blood all over the place. And in the process of being stabbed continuously with the screwdriver, she was able to open the door of the passenger seat that she was leaning on, and she fell backwards out of the car onto the ground, Stefani tumbling out on top of her, continuing to stab her. She's screaming, and a neighbor in this residential area opens up the door, and he runs over and he starts trying to get involved, but then Stefani turns the screwdriver on him. So the neighbor runs back in the house and calls 911. The end result, Denise Williams survived. And she had definitely left him hurt. A few hours later, police get a very different sort of 911 call from the Weepy-voiced killer. He's not crying this time, but he's still asking for help. He's asking for an ambulance for himself. He's bleeding. He's been beat up, he says. But he said it in a different voice, his normal voice, instead of that high, weepy sound.
I need an ambulance.
Where?
1505 Westminster.
1505
Yes,
Westminster. What's the problem?
I'm all cut up. I got beat up.
What's your apartment number?
208, I'm bleeding.
208. Where are you bleeding from?
From my arm, my face, my head.
The authorities rushed to his aid, and he was promptly arrested. The trial that followed was a whirlwind of a lot of uncertainty because they didn't have the genetics to match and really prove that he had done it. They just had these eyewitness testimonies, and there were no cameras, nobody around in most of these places. They focused mostly on the calls, and the calls in the confessions were much more high-pitched, where he had altered his voice. So they brought in all these voice experts who ultimately couldn't say for sure. Like, it sounds like him, we don't know. When they asked Stefani's own family if that was him, they said, absolutely. His sister took off the headphones immediately. That's him, she said. So he was convicted on the 911 calls. But it wasn't until much later, 12 years later, when Stefani was dying of cancer, that on his deathbed, he confessed. Even though Stefani didn't get a life sentence, technically, he spent the remainder of his days behind bars and succumbed to cancer in 1998. That ends the story of the weepy-voiced killer. Remember, the real horrors can sometimes be found not in fiction that we create, but in the chilling realities of our world. So brace yourselves for a month filled with tales that will make your knees knock, your heart race, and your spine tingle with fear.